I'm DaJuan Johnson. Welcome to the Think Bigger Actors podcast, where I share with you different kinds of talks and coachings and conversations with actors and industry professionals on thinking bigger. I hope these conversations will help you on your path to success, because I believe success is an inside job that starts with your mindset and the thoughts you hold dominant in your mind. Change your thoughts and you change your world. Your path to thinking bigger begins now. Hey Giovanni, how you doing, man?
I'm doing great, face to face digitally, but yeah, I'm great. I'm in Austin, Texas right now, and happy to be here.
Yeah, I got a bone to pick with you about Austin, but we'll get there because I've seen some of your posts and stuff like that. By the way, Austin's one of my favorite cities. I love Barton Springs and everything. You know what I mean? I got to work there for 5 weeks when I shot a film in a circular Holiday Inn. It's like Town Lake or Town's right off the river. And it was amazing.
It's walking distance from me.
Okay. So and I just I loved it. They had me facing the river the whole time, or the lake, I should call it, and it was just fantastic. So we'll get there, but it's so good to see you. It's been so long. It has been so long. I want to put a date on it, but I can't. But I don't know what inappropriate label to give you right now. You know, so I want to just start there. Is it actor? Is it screenwriter? Is it producer? Is it director? You know, because when I left you, it was actor, but now it's like, you know, it's so much going on. Tell us what's going on with you.
I would say primarily screenwriter and producer. I still love acting. I have a small cameo in At Midnight, and now contractually I'm putting, supporting roles in the movies that are hopefully getting made this year. So I'll be in things of mine that I've written and produced. Supporting roles and whatnot, not auditioning. I might audition next year. I think right now for 2023, I want to focus on the momentum I have screenwriting, just like the jobs that I'm booking and all that stuff. And then I'll see next year if I want to jump back into it. But I do love acting and I miss it. But right now I would say screenwriter for sure.
Okay. All right. I can get behind that because I saw written in a couple of places, Latino screenwriter, rep by UTA and range, you know what I mean? Like, and all that stuff. And so I was unclear, right? Like at first, and I wanted to just hash it out. Why is it so important for you to put Latino screenwriter on there? Because, I know you're Latin, like you have it out there forefront.
Yeah, I think when it's like press or, in a public forum, the reason why I like to say Latino screenwriter is when I was just starting out, it was really important to me, like someone like Roberto Aguirre Sacasa, who's the showrunner and creator of Riverdale and Sabrina and is has a high 8-figure overall deal at Warner Brothers. He's from Nicaragua like I am. And it was really important to me to see someone who's from a small country like Nicaragua really have mainstream successes and whatnot. So it's more so hopefully inspire people who are starting out that it doesn't matter where you come from, that you can make it in Hollywood and that it's not some unreachable La La Land, fantasy land industry. But yes, I am in a business setting. I do just say I'm a screenwriter, and I think I could write just as well as my white peers and black peers and Asian peers and whatnot. And a lot of the projects I have in development now, I have white movie stars and black movie stars. Like I don't focus on just, Latin content, I guess, or for Latin demos or whatnot. I kind of do a little bit of everything, actors who look like me and who don't look like me.
Yeah. I think I read somewhere when I was, I love when I get to do research on people because it's like, I won't want you to come on here and be like, you don't know nothing about me. But like, when and I think you went to Pepperdine. Yeah. Like you went to Pepperdine.
Yes.
Did you take any formal writing classes or were you just like acting there and then I just want to how did that play out?
I still haven't taken a writing class or like writers hate me because I started really late. I started in like my late 20s. I switched from acting to screenwriting.
So last year.
And Yeah, I still haven't read like How to Save a Cat or any of those books. I think I'm just so scared because it comes like organically. I'm scared to like create a formula or just overthink, like have a discipline of like do XYZ. I kind of like just go with it. I feel like with any art form, you learn by doing. And so I was an assistant to a well-known screenwriter, Margaret Nagel, who writes for film and TV, and just reading her scripts and seeing her do rewrites on the scripts, and then just reading other people's scripts and then writing and then getting coverage, rewriting, getting coverage. That was kind of like my grad school and how I learned to write. Obviously I mean, if I had millions of dollars, I probably would have gone to USC grad school for screenwriting, but my education was just writing, getting people to read my stuff and getting notes and then rewriting. That's kind of like how I learned.
I think that's beautiful, by the way. I think that's really beautiful because I think, getting it out of theory, getting it into practice, and you're saying that your practice or practicum was your schooling. And, when I talk about it a lot on the podcast, but when I was on Bosch, I got to shadow direct. I was watching other people and I was like, I wonder if these people went back to directing school, like who were doing it. Like there are a lot of actors, like the guys from Vampire Diaries and the guys who were on Grey's Anatomy, the people that they were like, the actors were now directing. And I thought to myself, well, these people have probably been on shows for so long, they know kind of the stuff and they're asking the questions. And so that's kind of some of the stuff I started doing when I was on my episodes. Instead of going back to my trailer, I would literally go back and go to Video Village, or I would go talk to the DP. I would go talk to, grips and stuff. I would just start to get knowledge on that stuff. So when I, worked up the courage to be like, hey, can I shadow direct? It all was making sense. It didn't feel like it was like, here's this guy that they knew it was coming. They could see because of the stuff. So I think it's very important for other people to hear, if they don't have millions of dollars, like you said, to go to USC or to go to maybe a school. Maybe you can just learn by throwing yourself in, I think. So I'm happy you said that way.
Definitely. Yeah. I've definitely put in my 10,000 hours for sure. But, and it was also really great working for a writer, kind of listening in to her Zooms and her conference calls, whether it be with actors or directors or producers or other writers, like let's say breaking story for a series. It was really great to listen to that, so that now that I'm into it, those meetings, the first ones like weren't so jarring because I already understood kind of like the lingo and whatnot. So what I try to do for like my mentees or just younger people that I'm helping out, I'll like record a Zoom and then I'll have them sit on my laptop and like see the Zoom with studio executives or whatever, just so that they could see the process of how to deal with and work with other people.
Well, that's like a real like life thing that's happening. You're like, oh, watch my Zoom and see. Oh, that's great.
Yeah. I sold a pitch last year to Paramount, and it was my first studio pitch where, you're doing outline and first draft and rewrite, and you're getting notes from the producers and the studio executives. And so I would record them and then have like, a 25-year-old mentee listen in. And so that he could see, or she could see, like, how it goes, how it all happens, and that it's not some impossible, crazy, difficult thing. That's just people collaborating with each other and like shooting ideas and also, the learning the politics of it all as well.
Yeah. Pitch and politics, we're going to call that. Pitch and politics. All right. Let's hold on for a second. We jumped in. I know that you're a screenwriter. I got it now. I understand that. Last I left you, you're an actor, right? I think it was like 2013, 2014, maybe, full disclosure, everyone out there, that used to be in my class, right? Like,
yes.
And
you were a great teacher.
Okay,
you were a very positive environment. I loved it. No, there was no trauma in your class that made me quit.
My whole audience saw where this was going. This is about me. No, I'm kidding. No, I'm like, what did I do? No, but like seriously, I remember you in class, and I didn't, not that this isn't the next step journey, but I just remember that you were gung-ho about acting, right? And so take me back to that time, because I think it's really important to just hear, oh, wow, if you all are watching this on YouTube, it's basically if you feel comfortable, you don't have to go if it's too
No,
dramatic,
of
but like
course.
take me back to that
No,
time.
no.
And what happened, or what was the process that got you to I'm done with acting for a little bit and I'm gonna go to this direction?
Well, I think with acting, I was so obsessed with the result and not the process. And I was adding so much resistance to my desires. And I just wanted the end result, and I wasn't enjoying the process of being an actor. And I wasn't at the time casting now is so much better, but at the time it really was, if you were Latin, you were only going out for Latin roles, and the Latin roles that were available were very stereotypical. I mean, the amount of times I had to come into an audition room with like a dark hoodie, and I was at a really reputable management company, and I remember my manager, she called me and she's like, "You need to take headshots in a back alley with a dark hoodie, because those are the roles." I'll never forget. She said, "Those are the roles that are available for you." The times have drastically changed really quickly in a really beautiful way, where it's more about essence than race now when it comes to roles, which is great. But at the time, I'm a very suburban, clean cut, went to Pepperdine Latino, even though both of my parents are from Nicaragua and my first language is Spanish. I wasn't Latin enough for the Latin roles, I wasn't white enough for the white roles, and it was really dehumanizing. And I was feeling very insecure. I was going through really bad eating disorder and just didn't really know who I was. And it was just starting to pierce through my soul in a very mentally unhealthy way. And at the same time, I had started to transition to writing, and I was working for Margaret. And that experience was really mentally stimulating and creative. And I was getting dropped, got dropped by my agent, got dropped by my manager. And I was like, I think and then when I wrote my first feature spec and my first pilot around the same time, they both won competitions, like national competitions, or like one of them was a finalist, and then the other like won the top 5 award or whatever. And then a junior manager at a Mosaic, at a talent and literary management company, was like, read them, and they were like, "Oh my God, you're so talented. Let me like pickpocket you, and when I get promoted, like I could sign you." And so all of that happened around the same month that I got dropped by my agent, my manager, and then this young great guy, Prince Varghese, who's now a animation executive at Netflix, believed in me. And then I won these competitions, and then I was like, okay, I think the universe is telling me to go be screenwriting. It was very clear and apparent that was the road. And I always knew I would come back to acting. I will go back to it, just through a different lens, through creating my own stuff, which is really exciting, very surreal. One of the most surreal, well, we'll go to At Midnight when we go to it. But yes, that's where I had left you, where it started to feel mentally unhealthy for me to continue to try to pursue acting. And so I found another creative avenue, and still, get to work in this really amazing industry.
That's real. I love how you said, I shouldn't say I loved it, but it just stuck with me, how you said about the end result. Like, you're just worried about the end result. We forget all the creative pursuits. We want to know what they want. Like, what do we need to book? And we forget why we started acting, because of the business part of it, or that hamster wheel of, how do I get what I'm going after? How do I get this dream to actualize? I hear that. I didn't know all that other stuff was going on for you. You know what I mean? So
yeah, and I think a lot of actors compare themselves to other actors, and to compare is to despair. And I was definitely addicted to comparing myself to others, and I don't feel like that. And also, like with acting, like the rejection, it felt a little bit more personal. Whereas, like, I get rejected all the time as a writer, but it feels external. It's not me. It's like
wait,
work.
hold
It's
on.
like
How is that
pages on
possible? How is that impossible? You're literally pouring your soul into these scripts. I mean, what I imagine. Now you're like, that's not me.
I don't know. It just feels less personal, I guess. Okay. I don't know.
Yeah.
It,
I mean,
it feels like, yeah. Acting is just more so your flesh, and yeah. It was weird. Some people would be like, you need to gain 20 pounds, and you'll be like the Latin Jonah Hill, I would hear. And then other people would be like, oh, you're like cute, but you're not hot. Maybe you could like gain muscle. Or it's just like, it was just constantly hearing like, you're not this enough, or it was just too much for me. But yes, luckily I've worked on loving myself and finding my self-worth. I no longer have this eating disorder. I got the proper help with a great therapist who specifies in people with eating disorders and stuff. So I'm out of the woods with that, and yeah, just all part of the journey.
No, I mean, we forget how much damage, when we allow it, that this industry can have on us. You know, whether you hear eat this or build this. I got told that as recently of 2 or 3 years ago. DaJuan, if you just bulked up a little bit, if you just bulked up a little, you could be that. And I was like, well, I don't want to get bigger. I hate the gym, but it lives rent free in my brain. Right. Do you know what I mean? Like, oh, when I don't book something, sometimes I'm like, maybe I should lift weights to do that. Like, it's like something that was told for me from a director, and I was like, that's something. So I appreciate you sharing that. I don't know if we talk a lot about those things as much, especially two males up here talking, male presenting, you know what I mean, talking, and I appreciate that. And it sounds like there was a tipping point that your mental health became more important than booking a co-star. You know what I mean? And I've been sitting here trying to think to myself before this call. I was like, I don't remember you being like a quiet person, right? Like I remember you. I feel like you were open and out there. And I mean, I was like, am I misremembering him? Like I don't, like I didn't, you know.
No, I was like that. Yeah. I'm an extrovert. I love people. I love hanging out with people. But yeah, it was just reaching a tipping point. And also like there was another path that was being offered to me by the universe, so to sort of God, whatever you want to call it, that was very alluring to me.
Yeah, which is very interesting, right? Because back in that day, something I've been trying to dispel for such a long time, we were all told, you know, that if you can do anything else, go do that, right? Or if you're not focusing only on acting, then you're not a real actor, which I think is one of the most toxic things that actors can hear. And I can't believe we're all still perpetuating that lie, because I think you can have amazing writers out there. You can have amazing CEOs, people who are, you know, doing different things, but we feel like, oh gosh, I can't do anything else but this. And I'm so happy you didn't listen to that, because it sounds like while you were, you know, working on yourself, you were also doing these other things that were, you know, presented and stuff and came up, you could run with it, right? It sounded like that about right.
What 1000%. The ironic thing is the actors that I know that blew up were the actors that didn't have resistance to the desire of becoming an actor. They were doing all these other things and just enjoying life and finding happiness. One thing, you know, during COVID, ironically, my writing career really started to take off during COVID, and it was when COVID hit. This whole time, like pre-COVID, I was like, let me find success and then I'll be happy. You know, let me get what I want and then I'll be happy. And then when COVID hit, you know, that March 2020, when I didn't know if the world was going to end or like if the industry was going to continue, I was like, you know what, let me find happiness first while I'm working towards this stuff, because like I don't know how long I'm going to live. Like I didn't know like if I, you know, get sick or whatever. So I was like, when I started to find joy in the everyday of my life while working towards my goal, that's when things started to manifest and things started to happen.
I am floored by that statement. Like that is wow. I'm just letting it sink in. You said what's really vibrating with me is, let me find success and then I'll be happy. Flipped to, let me be happy. Let me be happy and then the success will come. That is like something that actors, writers, everybody can take with it, but just so the way you flipped it during the pandemic and found so much success on that.
Yeah. And then by the time the success came, I didn't let it define me because I was already happy without it.
Yeah.
You know, so in this any artist career, director, actor, writer, it's ebbs and flows. Like, you're gonna have good years and bad years, and I feel like working on finding my self-worth outside of the industry and finding happiness without it, I know I'll be good when it's high or low.
Yeah.
And I think that's what I hope artists lean towards, which is being happy regardless of what happens in your career. And that's obviously easier said than done. And you can find even more happiness and joy when you're doing the career that you've always wanted to do, like, of course. But knowing you could be happy throughout the journey was like an aha moment for me.
Yeah. I think it comes with age too, right? It comes with age
Mhm.
if we allow it. Somebody asked me this question. My coach asked me, "You don't seem as excited about your Super Bowl commercial." Right. And I was like, "Oh, no, no, no. I am excited. I was excited that the Super Bowl commercial happened. I told my people and all that. I really am. But I'm a little bit older than when I got my Super Bowl commercial 11 years ago. Right. I
Mhm.
understand that doesn't define me. It doesn't
Mhm.
make me at all. But what am I going to do now? Right. With it. Like
Mhm.
it's a different mindset than 10 years ago, DaJuan, where I was like, what's going to happen? I'm going to make so much money and all that stuff. It's a different
Mhm.
feel. And I think age comes with a little bit of that we understand that, yes, I did, you said a pitch to Paramount. Yes, but I was still great yesterday. You know what I mean? I
Right.
was still great the day
Yeah.
before that. This is just a moment in that career. Is that kind of, you're feeling the same way on that?
Totally, totally. And I see it with actors too all the time, like my actor friends that are like, they want it, they want it, they want it. The energy that you're really putting out is, I don't have it, I don't have it, I don't have it, right? And you're kind of just pushing away what you want. And desperation is never attractive or appealing. It's the person that like is more laid back and is just trusting that gets things. I have a friend who's become a major star now, and she was kind enough to invite me to the premiere of her second movie that she was leading in. And I asked her what her headspace was when she booked her first movie, which was with all-star cast, big studio movie. And she was like, I was in Australia and I was a laser tag instructor, and I was in a comedy troupe, and I was with my family, and I was doing fun plays. And she was like, I genuinely was happy when this audition came through, and I just so happened to book it. And then, the course of her life has changed since then. But I remember hearing that. I was like, oh, it is real that you could find happiness whether you're in a studio movie or not. So I that's kind of like the wisdom that I've shared that not only worked with me, but has worked with actors as well, you know.
Doing laser tag with your family, in a comedy troupe, living your best life, and you book a studio film. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
It is really something to be said around just showing up and being happy in your just day to day, right? Being
Mhm.
like content, still striving for more, still wanting more is okay. But I think what I heard you also say a second before that is so many actors, they're showing up with that need, right, to book this,
Mhm.
or that validation that they're looking for, from
Yes.
this, what this role will give, instead of, I'm just doing the things. This is great. I get to do this. Powerful. I didn't know we were going to have this talk today. I didn't know. I did not know, and why everybody's like, why? Because I feel like I attract a lot of people that talk about mindset and come to this vibration. I'll be honest with you. So it doesn't
Mhm.
surprise me. I just didn't know we were going to go here, but so everybody listening, why I said that was when I connect with Giovanni, it's usually in his DMs. And we're usually low-key sparring about something respectfully, right? We're respectfully sparring about some
I forgot
political.
about that. It's been a couple years.
It
Been a
has been.
couple, a year or two. Yeah, yeah.
But not in a bad way, because I always feel like, gosh, I have somebody to talk to about different stuff. And so, I
Yeah.
haven't had the chance to see this side of you. I haven't had this chance to be reintroduced to this side of you, because again,
Mm.
when we last met, when our energies last came together, was in a classroom setting, right? And so it's a different
Yeah.
space. And so I was going through my own stuff, getting ready to transition into my own business, here and stuff. And
Mhm.
so this is just such a nice treat. It's just such a beautiful, beautiful treat. Before
Awesome.
we get out of this section, this area, I wanted to just think like, a lot of actors have such a hard time leaving acting behind. It feels like you failed at something. It feels like things I've heard, like I can't, then I have to go back home and tell people. And I wonder if you had any of that, or was it just because you had this other thing going, you didn't have to worry about that, putting acting on the back burner for a second? Any of those things came up for you?
I've seen people leave the industry entirely and do something else and have found happiness in that. So even though it was the thing that I was known for since I was a little kid, that I always wanted to do it, and I was just lucky enough to find a gift or a talent in the same industry, in the same creative industry. I feel lucky like that. But I have friends who've left acting and become really successful realtors and nutritionists and fathers and mothers, and we give too much stock into Hollywood, and then I get it. It's a medium that everyone in the world sees, and it is fun, it is exciting, but it's not everything. And I think your mental health has to come first. And at the end of the day, we're all energetic beings, and so like you have to be responsible and aware of the energy you're putting out, and make work to make sure that the energy you're putting out is healthy energy and positive energy and energy that makes you good. And so if that means you have to take a break from acting, I also know I have a friend who was trying to act for 8 years, hadn't worked in 8 years. Like her last credit was 8 years prior. COVID hits, she moves home to Miami for a year and a half, 2 years, comes back to LA after quitting acting for 2 years, and now is a series regular on an Apple show. So, the rules are, there are no rules. You can be the exception if you convince yourself you're the exception in any field, whether it's in Hollywood or not. So you never know. I always say just go into every situation with like an energetic openness of like, we'll see.
Where did that come from? Where did that come from? Sorry, that's a thought. Where did that come from? I know how I've done a lot of work on energy and, mindset and working, where did that come from with you?
Oof. A lot of it was, doing the work to get out of my eating disorder. My former therapist used to say, you're not responsible for the bad things that have happened to you or the trauma, but you are responsible for your healing. You are responsible for not spreading, the hurt that has happened to you, spread it to other people. You're responsible to heal and to grow as a human being. And I joined like a youth support group. I joined Agape at one point. And I love motivational podcasts, Oprah Super Soul Sunday, the law of gratitude. Practicing the law of gratitude has really changed the course of my life. I mean, things really started to pick up for me when I started to practice gratitude every day. So I don't know, the curiosity of wanting to grow and be better.
Yeah, I think you can't say I don't know, because you just gave us like 5 or 6 different things. And hey, now this is the coach in me coming out. Why it's important for, I think, to be part of your story, Giovanni, because the beginning of the podcast, you said, I want to make sure that other individuals from Nicaragua or from other places understand, that they can do it too. Where a lot of them, people of color, like have faced some adversity as well. Like, do you know what I mean? And so how do they get out of it? Those roadmaps that you just gave, those little steps are key. Right? Because it's like, oh, great. How did he do it? Well, listen, I started listening to the law of attraction, the law of gratitude. I started listening to Oprah Super Soul Sunday. Those are tangible things that I can go pick up a podcast. I'm a little bit offended that he didn't say the Think Bigger Actors podcast, but that's okay. That's okay, y'all. That's okay, y'all. He's coming. But I think those steps are very important. So I want to make sure I highlighted them because I see it in you. I see there's a different being in front of me that has gone through some stuff and is saying, hey, I'm talking about, I got to be responsible, what you said, for the energy that I'm putting out in the world. I always say, yeah, make sure you are responsible for who you let in your energy field as well. And so that is, I was like, there's some work he's been doing. There's some work he's been doing. And I see this. And we won't even get into my therapist. I feel like I should pay him extra.
No, it's funny though, when people, they say you're the average of the 7 people in your life. And it's like, well, I don't know Oprah or so-and-so. Like if I'm in a funk, it's like, yeah, you don't have to personally know them, but you could have them in your ear. When I'm in a funk, I'll go to YouTube and I'll just put like 10 most inspiring speeches or whatever, and that helps inspire me. Listening to other people inspiring stories for sure.
Yeah, I've talked a lot also last year in the last season of the podcast that I went through a bit of a major depression last year, and coming off of a show, I was on a show for 7 seasons, and then I didn't go right into another show like Hollywood tells you you're supposed to go, and then I was also dealing with other stuff and trauma, and I didn't realize it until I got COVID. That slowed me down, because I was like, I'm just going to keep going. I got 2 kids. I got to keep moving. And, I couldn't do anything else, but I knew I could walk and exercise, because you could be outside and stuff. And I just put podcasts on. I started listening to Bob Proctor. I started listening to Joe Dispenza. I started listening to, Jim Rohn, all the people that Oprah, like Lisa Nichols. And I just said, you know what? The thoughts that I have had have gotten me to a great place, but they are not going to get me to my next level. I need to hear other people's thoughts. I need other work. And so that's when I was like, he's done some work. There's some things I want to make sure we put some steps in there. That one was for y'all, everybody listening. That was for y'all, because it's good to hear all this stuff, but I want to make sure this is how success leaves clues. One of the things that you mentioned a little bit earlier was about like you writing your own stuff. Right. And you're excited about that. And we hear this a lot about how to create your own material and stuff. I guess I want to hear the road you took to get to even At Midnight. And it sounds like there were some other steps to take you from actor to writer. You mentioned a competition. I just want to hear a little bit more about that.
Yeah, I wish I could say I had the Issa Rae, created a web series that went viral, and then HBO called and CAA and all that stuff. I kind of have a little bit more of a traditional Hollywood writer story where, I wrote a feature spec and a TV spec pilot, and I had met a young assistant at Mosaic who was really close to getting promoted. He eventually did get promoted. I was his first client that he signed. And I started going out on generals and stuff and kept writing. I wasn't leaning on those 2 things. My second feature spec was Hedy. It was a biopic about Hedy Lamarr, who was a famous movie star of old Hollywood, who was also a genius. And she created frequency hopping, which is the basis for Bluetooth and GPS and Wi-Fi. So that I knew a soap opera actor whose best friend was a literary agent at Paradigm, Gabby Mena, who's now a manager at M88. Really great guy. And my soap opera actor friend, sent the script to Gabby. Gabby read it and was like, who do you want for this? And I said an actress, and he sent it to the actress's agent. The next day, the agent said, I love it. I'm sending it, but she's shooting this show in Europe somewhere, one of the biggest shows ever in history. And then by Monday morning, I got the call that she was attached, and she sent it to 2 producers, Ron Howard and Karen Rosenfeld. And Karen, who did all the Twilight movies and Devil Wears Prada, she's a legend, wanted to do it. So she sat me down in her bungalow in the Fox studio in Century City. I was freaking out, and she was very, very cool, very sweet. And then I met this actress the week that she was in town for the Golden Globes. And it was the first time I had met a movie star in a professional setting. And I saw that she didn't see herself as a star. She saw herself as like a classically trained actress. And we developed the story with her. Eventually that project fell apart, but I kept a really human to human connection with Karen Rosenfeld. And now it's been 4 or 5 years later, I finally sent her a new script and spec script, and she attached herself. And I had a great call with her yesterday, and we're out to a great movie star for that project. So it's funny, just because even when the actress left, I was devastated. I cried for 2 days. And on the second day, I wrote 2 movies. One of them was At Midnight, and the other I sold last month to Netflix. But I wanted to keep that relationship with Karen, and I would always check in on her just as a person. How are you? Blah, blah. During COVID, checking in. And I knew eventually, organically, I didn't, even though she was a powerful producer, I didn't want to be like, well, let me write something and send it to her right away. I knew, like, chill, it will happen when it happens. And I finally wrote a spec that I felt like was in her lane of things, and she responded to it right away. And now we're working together 5 years later. So but back to 5 years ago, when that Hedy Lamarr project fell apart, and I just kept writing specs. And at the time, I had met one of the producers of At Midnight at a party. I was a house sitter for like the 1% of Hollywood. And there was one house, a power gay couple who would let me have parties. And so I invited a friend who invited one of the producers of At Midnight. And he's a producer manager, Josh Glick, I call him my fairy godfather. He repped Diego Boneta. And at the time, I had a lot of heat for having this actress attached to this project, and that Karen Rosenfeld was attached. And they were like, "Why don't you come and pitch us? We're doing a round of pitches for a movie. Diego Boneta wants to do a romantic comedy." So a few months go by, and I ended up getting the job. We were gonna do it as a pitch, and then I was like, you know what? I'll just write it on spec. And at the time, I was like just thinking about not only selling it, but like having it greenlit. And I said to Diego, I was like, it has to be like at a 5-star resort. And he's like, no, I want it to be all over Mexico. I was like, no, but we won't get greenlit if it's that. Like, if it's self-contained, we'll get greenlit. And so I convinced him to let me write it At Midnight, taking place in a beach resort. And then COVID hit. And the world stopped, and then Paramount picked it up, and I just got lucky that it was a very COVID friendly project to greenlight. A lot of the things that were being greenlit in 2020 and 2021 were self-contained things, and I think that's one of the reasons why we got greenlit, aside from the talent and stardom that is Diego Boneta. And then we got Monica Barbaro, who's the female lead of Top Gun Maverick, and that movie became a huge hit. But I think really it was a COVID friendly movie to make.
Yeah, and Whitney in that too as well, like
Whitney Cummings. Yes. I play her personal trainer, a quick little cameo. But she's a real friend now. Now I could say she's a real friend. We got really close shooting that movie, and she's just hilarious on camera, off. She's always cracking jokes, except if she's talking about money and finances and giving financial advice. That's when she's dead serious. And I'm just like taking it all in and absorbing that, because she's been through so many ups and downs and amazingness. And she's just an incredible human being. And that was shooting that one scene with her was one of the most surreal moments of my life. The fact that I was in the shower and thought, oh, let's call the movie At Midnight and let's have it be at a beach resort. And the fact that it became a multi-million-dollar studio movie, and that I was improvising with Whitney, even though you don't see it in the movie, in the edited movie, we did for hours just improvising scenes and just like improvising with Whitney Cummings, who's someone I grew up loving. I was like, what is my life right now? This is it was crazy and beautiful, and we had a great time at the premieres that we had and all that stuff.
One of the things that I really appreciate about that story, right? I think the outlier, right, is everybody wants to have a story like Issa Rae, or everybody wants to try to have a story like Quinta. You know what I mean? Like, which are fantastic stories. Coming up, you did Vine, or you did like whatever, like those things are. But this story is also another one of them. Like, we can do a traditional, here's what I did. I wrote a spec, you know what I mean? And then that spec, I met a junior agent or manager, junior manager that got it. And we can see a trajectory that if you're not out there on camera and you want to shoot as an actor, there's another path to it. So I think this is such a great thing to share. Go ahead.
Well, I think with scripts and screenwriting, you know, if it's good, if it's a great title, great concept, you know, movie star friendly, if it's just a great world, it will get seen, it will get read, whether it's competitions that you submit to, or, you know, just building a network of people. I was always one of those people, like, fortune favors the bold. And your boy was always bold. Like, if I met someone and they gave me their email, I'm calling them. If, you know, and they could be so much richer than me, and we go out for coffee, I'm buying their coffee. You know, if someone says, yeah, follow up with me next month, I will follow up with you next month. But at the same time, I was always creating, I was always writing. I think a lot of times I see writer friends write one thing and they're like, they're not going to move on until they make that one thing. And it's like, no, you'll write one thing 5 years and you'll just add so much resistance to trying to get that thing made. So the way I emotionally step back, emotionally detach myself from my projects is, once I'm done writing one, I write another one, you know, and it's a slow burn. I have a movie that looks like is on its way to get greenlit. It's financed, has a great director. We're shooting in a few months. That one, I wrote that like 4 years ago, and it's just now getting made. You know, it can take a while, and so if I would have obsessed with that one thing, I wouldn't have written the spec scripts that have been selling to streamers and studios. You know, so it's like you got to keep always producing content if you're a writer. Producing stuff.
I guess one of the things I'm just curious about, because I don't know this world as much, is once you wrote this, say this thing's coming up next, right? The thing's greenlit, hopefully you'll be shooting in the next couple of months. When you first started that 4 years ago, did you write it? And then in order to get it in front of somebody else, was there a small treatment you wrote with it? Or did you just say, here's a script with it? Like, how did you package that to get it to your team so they would know what to do with it?
So when I was at Mosaic with the junior manager and with Paradigm, after Hetty, I wrote 2 spec scripts. And
so everybody a spec script is kind of like, if you are writing, where does this, in my world, write a spec script for Scrubs? That means, can it fit in that world? Or people would write a spec script for Bosch in one of the episodes. So I want to make sure, what are you saying in your world?
Well, that's for TV. A spec script in TV is an existing show. A spec for film is an original idea that, and you're writing the script with the intention of selling it and getting it made after.
Good. I'm glad we made a distinction there.
Yeah. And so one of those spec scripts got optioned by a streamer, and then my manager became an executive at Netflix, and no one wanted to sign me from Mosaic, so I didn't have a manager. And then I signed with Grandview, who rep Diego Boneta, who they knew me from At Midnight and from another spec script that I had created. And then my agent at Paradigm became a manager, and then I left. And with these fresh scripts, I signed with UTA. And then UTA sets you up with general meetings. You go out for open writing assignments, which is a piece of material like a remake or an article they want to turn into a movie. But those are really hard to get. They usually go for known writers. So I always tell writers just to keep speccing. Like, that's where I've found success. And that's what keeps my lights on is writing and then selling the thing after. I've only sold one pitch, and it was a pitch to Paramount. And that one, we're out to directors right now. It's been a lovely experience doing that. And then I just booked my first rewrite script doctor job, which is, it's an existing script. I'm going to go in and rewrite it and fix it, and I guess make it a shootable script, so to speak. So just improving someone else's work, which is weird. I've never done it before. I know what it's like to be rewritten. So it's like,
Don't look at their name.
I'm
Don't
like,
look at their name. Just don't look at the name and just get the script out there. Don't put a
yeah,
face with
it's
that.
yeah, but it has a great director and great producers who I met months ago at a coffee general meeting when I was in LA. And I guess they remembered me and they were like, we want to give an exclusive offer for him to rewrite this project. I was like, oh shit, okay. So yeah, that's how the writing, having representation thing is. Like at the end of the day, agents only make 10% of what you make. So I'm shaking hands when I'm in LA. I'm out there meeting new people, reconnecting with people. Just because you met someone once doesn't mean they know you. You have to maintain those relationships, and then just keep writing and send the script to your agent and say, I tend to write things with actors in mind, or like 3 actors in mind, and usually have a spec called The Divorcees. It's set up at Mandalay Pictures. I wrote it for the 3 actresses that we have attached with their voices in mind. Sometimes they pass, sometimes they don't. In this case, I got all 3, which is crazy. But I've written things specifically for a movie star and written like a letter, like, I wrote this for you, blah, blah, blah. And then they like don't even read it or they pass. And then the second person you send it to reads it and attaches. And you're like, oh shit, okay. So but yeah.
I know that as I did that, I remember talking to when I was writing and pitching my series, that I had mentioned that to another big actor that came on Bosch, and that person just leaned in and was like, well, if you need a actor, like, think of me. And I thought to myself, I never even thought to myself that you would want to do this. But what I've learned from that is we're all looking for our next job, right? Or we're all looking for good material in that next job. And so if you have something, I might pass on it, but let me see it and pass. And so what I heard again in your story is go out to if you have Regina King, you want to work with her or something, go out to these people, they're reps and stuff like that, because it can definitely happen for that.
A lot of movie stars are, sorry, just to get this point, a lot of movie stars are like underserved. Like I feel like a bunch of people are like writing things for Denzel and Tom Cruise and like 5 people, when it's like there's a lot of female movie stars over 40 who aren't getting 1,000 scripts a day. Like these 10, if you're Jennifer Lawrence and Emma Stone, like they're getting 1,000 scripts a day. So I'm going to focus on these 10 actors that really have value, who are so talented and so great, and write something around them. And that's where I found success, where it's like, I'm not writing for the most obvious people. I'm writing for people who have value and have established names, who maybe aren't getting things. Or sometimes, like I wrote a romantic comedy that has an actress attached who does a lot of romantic comedies. I'm like, if she's doing that, she's gonna do this. Like, so it's like maybe writing the best version of something that someone wants to do,
I love this. I love this. You've mentioned a couple times that, and I don't know if you're just trying to be sneaky with me, but you've mentioned that you have a couple other things in the pipeline, come in. And you haven't mentioned that. Is that just stuff you've written, or stuff that is what's in the pipeline?
So I have the one project that I pitched to Paramount that is now a full script that is going out to directors. That's like a heist movie that I'm really excited about. It's like it has a romantic comedy feel, but it's really more like an ensemble Ocean's 11 type heist movie. I'm so excited they bought the pitch, because they were paying me to write outside my genre and kind of expand, and I didn't know what I was doing. I'm just so happy that's on its way to getting made. It hasn't been greenlit. I have a spec at Netflix with great producers and a great leading lady who I'm like a big fan of, and it's like my favorite script I've ever written. It's like a risky business but gender swap, which I'm really excited about. And I have a movie that hopefully we'll shoot in the fall with Kenny Ortega producing and directing. And that's exciting. I've known him for like 10 years. And that's another thing where it's like, if you know someone of high profile and you're going to make that call, make sure you have the goods to back it up, because you could really only make that call once, you know?
Yeah.
So one of my problems when I was an actor was I was so impatient that I would pull the trigger on things, and I was just rushing, and it wasn't there, you know, like. And so when I made that call to Kenny, I had already sold things, already optioned things. I had written it on specs, so the words were on the page. And so that one's been a slow burn. A lot of times, like, things could be on their way and something gets, the actor leaves, the director leaves, the executive covering your project gets fired. Like, that happened to me. The first script of mine that got optioned, the streamer had paid me to rewrite it. We had a director attached. The executive got fired. And then the people who stayed were like, we don't want to make this, and they put it into turnaround. So that happens all the time too. So it's like being happy regardless. Like, if this movie gets greenlit, it will be amazing and surreal. But if it doesn't happen, I'm still gonna try to be happy regardless.
I love that. I love that. I'm gonna land this plane, and I'm gonna land it with a couple of big questions for you.
Okay.
What do you honestly, like, we just went through a big journey in talking, like, what do you wish you knew, when you first moved out here to LA? Like, what do you wish now?
I wish someone would have told me not to put the industry and the people and my goals on a pedestal. And I wish I would have not given my power away to casting directors, agents, managers, other actors, other high profile people. I would give my power away to them. And yeah, now I wish I would have never done that stuff. I wish I would have done the work to find my self-worth and my happiness from the get-go, because it would have made the journey that much better.
And anyone who is coming up right now, right behind you on a similar road, what would you share with them?
Enjoy the journey and the process. Find happiness outside of the creative endeavors or the goals that you're trying to do. Always do the work in being physically, mentally, and spiritually as strong as you can get. I'm a writer. I'm not in front of the camera, and yet I go to the gym 5 times a week. I do hot yoga, and it's not to be aesthetically pleasing to executives. Yeah, of course there is that. We do live in a physical world, but it relieves me of anxiety and stress. It gets me mentally healthy. Running on Lady Bird Lake allows me to find creative flow, so that when I am in front of the computer, it doesn't feel like hard work or difficult. It feels like you're riding a creative wave. So all those things, eating healthy, not giving into toxic vices, that kind of thing.
I am going to be remiss if I don't ask this question. It keeps coming up in my mind and my spirit. You said not giving your power away, right? Not giving your power away. What does standing in your power look like for you now?
Being grounded in the moment, not comparing myself to other people, and giving the same amount of respect to everyone, regardless of age, power, status, and whatnot. Yeah.
I love that. I love that. Giovanni, it's been so great talking to you. I just want to say that I don't know what your beef is with LA in your in your stories. I knew there was something going on. There was a love affair starting. I mean, if you want to tell me, even before, are you leaving us in LA? Are you moving to Austin for real? Like, what's the buzz, man?
So my month to month is I do about 3 weeks in Austin. I do 1 week LA. So I'm in LA every month. Sometimes, in January, I was in LA for 14 days, so almost half the month. it just depends. I'll eventually, I'm sure, move back. I'm trying to hold out as much as possible. I definitely won't be moving back this year. You know, Austin is where my parents live. My sister and her 3 kids. My little
Mm.
brother lives here. I've met friends. This is the first city I've lived in outside of LA as an adult. You know, I moved to LA when I was 18. I went to school here, school there. So it was really nice to, I've made a great group of friends that are not in the industry. And that's actually inspired a lot of my work and a lot of my creativeness, stealing things from the lives of people who are not in Hollywood. Because a lot of times LA could feel like a bubble where everyone, you know, it's a one town industry. So it's nice to step away from that. The 0% income tax, I think, helps a lot. Especially when the money's finally starting to kick in, right? After 10 plus years in the industry. No traffic, the fact that nature is really intertwined.
Austin has traffic. Calm down. Austin has traffic. You know, it's not like hour 405. Yeah. It's like I brought him on the podcast, y'all, to yell at him.
But I do love LA, and I'm trying to put good juju out there. I left really pissed off. Obviously, during COVID was difficult no matter where you were in the world. LA in particular was very difficult on my mental health. And so, but yes, every time I go back to LA, I always have a smile on my face, and I have a lot of friends there who are family and whatnot. So I'll move back eventually. We'll see.
You don't have to, by the way. I think, well, you know, one of the things I've been saying, and people don't maybe like this, but I think one of the things the pandemic did do for us is opened up the world a little bit. Even though it closed it down, it opened it up a little bit more. You know, for people like actors who were scared to leave LA or New York because they didn't want to miss an audition, or you don't want to miss a commercial audition, or you don't want to do that. Now you have the space with self-taping to go live by your family and not miss so many birthdays and see your siblings grow up. I don't see all that stuff. My grandparents, because I'm rooted in LA. We have houses here and stuff, you know. But like what the pandemic did is, okay, great. I can go to my mom's retirement party and it not be a big deal because I can take my setup with me. So, you know, I can film from wherever. And I just say, like, if your heart is in Austin, man, the one thing that I did not say on this podcast is you seem happy there. You seem very happy there. And that's what I keep hearing about it, but you know, from your stories. And so from somebody who sees that part of it, maybe this is your bi-coastal, not really, your bi-coastal thing that you do. You didn't, bunny years I just did, everybody. I know it's not a coast, by the way. I just want to say that. But it's your bi-coastal, and you just pop in when you need to, you know, and you don't have to. A lot of the managers in places, or agencies, they don't have physical locations anymore. Like a lot of places have gone to virtual places. So I don't know.
Well, as you say, my friend that booked that one studio movie, she booked that on tape in Australia. And then my other friend who left LA and quit for 2 years and then started auditioning again, she booked that off of Miami. She was living in Miami. So yes,
we're gonna have people moving. Yes. We're gonna have people moving after this podcast. We're gonna, right? Giovanni, thank you so very much for coming on here and talking with us. This was fun. This is almost. I already said it right. This was fantastic. It is so fantastic.
Oh, awesome!
Thank you so much.
Thank you. It was so great to see your face. It's so great talking to you. And I hope any advice I gave, I hope people dig it. I don't know.
I dug it, so I know they're gonna dig it. We'll talk soon, man. Yep. I think this will go down as one of my favorite mental health episodes. Giovanni, he talked about so many great things, but the mental health part really, 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 you know, it just stuck with me. And one of the things that really stood out to me in this episode when he talked about the end result. The end result is all we focus on. There's a lot more in this, but I'm just going to talk about this one thing for the D12 shot. So come on, pull up a chair. You know, I think we've gotten so far away from what we're doing, like any of this, why we're doing any of this inside of this industry, that it leads us down these dark paths, these paths that can cause depression, in my case, anxiety, you know, possibly eating disorders. And Giovanni's like, as he was saying, and people were telling him, lose this weight or do this. But definitely it led him to feeling mentally unhealthy. Also, we can book a job. So, I don't know, so we can feel validated, so we can be seen. I don't think it's worth it. Losing yourself. I'm going to keep this short and sweet, this D12. Your mental health needs constant attention. You must set your attention on that intention. I'll say it again. Your mental health needs your constant attention. This is my mantra, and I hope you will consider it for yourself. My mental health is the priority. My mental health is the priority. And no role is worth losing it for that. What am I doing for my mental health today? That's a question I ask myself all the time. What am I doing for myself today? It can look like that. Here's what I've done for myself. And I want you to consider what you can do for yourself. For the last year, I've had a standing massage at this place called Now Massage. I have had a standing massage. I've joined a massage membership, y'all, that one time during the month is sacred to me. It's an 80-minute massage that I do not schedule anything before or after. I take myself to lunch after that. It's something that I actively tell myself is just for you, DaJuan. So when I ask myself, what am I doing for my mental health today? Or my mental health is a priority. That's number one. That's one thing that I make sure that I have on the books. What can you schedule for yourself on the books? Number two, I always take time for walks. When I start feeling anxious or anxiety, like the anxiety, icky feeling comes in for me, when I start feeling blocked, I know it's because I haven't stopped what I'm doing, went outside, put my headphones on, and went for a walk. Went for a walk in the sun. Right? But the walk itself isn't enough for me. During that walk is when it's my sacred time to pop in my mindset talks. And I get new thoughts. This is the key. I get new thoughts in my mind over and over and over again because my beautiful thoughts have gotten me as far as they're going to get me. I need to start cultivating new ones. And I've said this before. If you want my playlist, DM me and I'll send you the playlist I have for just to get you started as a foundation for your mindset talks, walks, all of that stuff. And number three, let me tell you, this business, we get a lot of rejection. We get a lot of no's in this business. And like Giovanni said, for some reason, the no's feel a little bit more personal as an actor. So here's how I deal with that. Number one, never get my self-worth wrapped up in rejection. Never. It's just a no, DaJuan, is what I tell yourself. It doesn't mean it's a no forever. You got that no. Move on. Number two, sometimes a no just sucks, and I let myself just feel bad about it. But I do not let it take me out. But sometimes you just gotta feel the feels and be like, oh, that sucked. I thought that pin was gonna go through. Oh, I thought that callback was gonna work out. Oh, I thought that test was gonna happen. And you get to mourn those things. You get to grieve that excitement, that thought, all of that. Take yourself, but don't let it take you out. And number three, I remember this, and I can only access this after I've been on my walks, after I've meditated, after I've done massage. I can only remember this. I remember that this moment, this no, this rejection is not bigger than my dreams, my hopes, my visions that I have for my career. I will not allow one no, 10 no's, 10,000 no's to take me out. It's just not going to happen. We got to stand guard at the gates of our mind. We have to protect our confidence. We have to protect our peace. We have to protect ourselves. And after a while, it feels like you're not even protecting. It just feels like this is you. So I want to know, what do you do to take care of your mental health? I want to know because it's so freaking important, and I care about you as an actor. I care about you as a human. Forget caring about you as an actor. I care about you. And so many of our actor brothers and sisters and everything in between, everybody are hurting. They're hurting out there because a lot of that no's and the rejection. Remember, don't quit. Don't get out of line. Borrow my faith in you. I'm rooting so hard and so big for you. Make sure you share this podcast. Please.